Studios. So
this is gonna get weird, all right? It's pretty freaky, but it's safe. There's no reason to be scared.
Oh, no, Daddy don't get scared.
Really? Good.
Wanda,
Yes, dear.
are you using your powers to turn on the light?
You couldn't have done that earlier.
I hate you. I like this.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
I have an army. We have a Hulk.
I am a god, you dumb creature, and I will not be bullied by that. We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Baskin Robbins always finds out.
I am Iron Man.
I'm Groot.
I am Steve Rogers.
We're all standing up now. Bunch of jackasses standing in a circle.
Because that's what heroes do.
hello and welcome to Maximum Marvel Drive, a show about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, maybe multiverse now. I am Travis Fishburne.
I'm Alex Brunel.
And I'm Dustin Meadows.
And this week we are going to be covering WandaVision Episode 5 on a very special episode. And very special it was in ways we probably could not even have imagined.
Yeah, so special. It made me carve out time in my weekend to make you move your regular podcast time slot so I could be here.
Yes, Alex is here remotely, special reporting from Pittsburgh.
Yeah. In this lovely Hyatt House Hotel extended stay room that I'm in.
Yeah. So Alex, I'll lead with you. What did you think of this week's episode?
I loved this so much. I was very into last week's episode. And I was very on board with where the show is going now. And then this episode is kind of exactly what I had been wanting, which is the cutting back and forth between giving us information and more intrigue and whatever Wanda is doing inside the thing. All of it. I can't think of a moment that I actually didn't like in this episode. And
yeah, I'd say even your critique of the humor is getting better.
I think that, because here's the thing I think now, and I actually want to rewatch the first 3 episodes, knowing how freaking dark they actually are. Those
yes.
first 3 episodes are unbelievably dark.
Yeah, with the hearts, with the husband choking and her screaming, "Stop it! Stop it!"
And that's those real people. I think that's I think something I saw online indicated that those 2 people are a real life couple in the real town of Westview. And so here you have a woman who is seeing her husband actually die, and she can't do anything because she's being repressed by Wanda creating this reality. And just knowing that that's the kind of thing that's actually going on within the show in those first 3 episodes makes me very curious to go back and rewatch those with that in mind.
Yeah.
And I still didn't think the 80s pastiche humor in this episode was great. I still wasn't really laughing at that stuff, but there's so much more going on that is truly getting me now that I just don't really care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't have to rely completely on that
exactly.
the way they did the first 2.
Exactly.
Or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dustin, how about you?
I dug it, echoing a lot of what Alex has said. It was nice to kind of see things go back and forth this time between the reality within the anomaly and what's going on outside the bubble. I just, without getting into any big talking points, I dug it. I love it. I love the direction the show's headed, and it's real interesting to see stuff getting revealed because it does paint these previous episodes in a way different light now.
Yes, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know, like going back. I think, just the more that gets revealed, the more I think a rewatch is going to be very rewarding.
Oh, yeah.
Because as much as we think we see or even know now, I can only imagine like what we're gonna actually get here down the line.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If the thing that happens at the end of this episode is happening in episode 5, like, and there's 4 more episodes with which to do what the hell ever, like, yeah, great, bring this on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted because Facebook Live looks to be having an issue with. Okay. There might have been an interruption. If there was, we're sorry. We're back. Or that could have just been on my end. And if you're a podcast listener, you had no idea because I edited this part out. So we can go right into the episode. And it begins where we're in the 80s and the twins won't sleep. They're still babies and they will not sleep. And it's a very, I don't know, feels very rote kind of 80s tropes in there. And then Agnes shows up to save the day with her techniques of putting the kids to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
With essential oils and amazing spandex.
Yes.
Yeah, this is like the first true weirdness in this episode is like is the moment when Vision is like, I don't know if it's a great idea for her to hold the babies, and then Agnes is like, should I take it from the top? Should I start the scene again?
Yes. Yeah,
And,
she
like,
starts that.
breaking down that reality and with the laugh track still going also, like, very dark.
Well, that's telling at that part because when she asks that, the laugh track does go away, and so it's silent for like 20 seconds or so, and you're like, oh, some weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like this is the earliest in an episode we've gotten to like one of those weird kind of creepy moments.
Yeah.
It's like usually they're buried a little further in, but this is like within the first couple minutes. It's just like, oh, okay. So Agnes is aware of what's going on, which sets her. Which we've suspected since a couple episodes ago, when her and Herb are having the conversation with Vision outside the house. But now it's like, okay, she's clearly a bigger part of this than we gave her credit for before.
Yeah, and like I think there's a good question: is she even being controlled by Wanda or whomever at all? Because she's like, she gets ahead of the game with the let's take it from the top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she is outside of Wanda's control, which is why I thought at the end of the episode when there was a knock on the door and she said, well, and Vision asked if she did that, but she seemed genuinely surprised and she didn't do that. I thought it was Agnes at first. And I don't know, I've been like actually reading about like what this show could be because, just references to comic book characters, and it's pretty kind of obvious at this point that Agnes is Agatha Harkness, who is a witch who kind of trained Wanda in the comic books and to an extent controlled her. So it could be a thing like this is Wanda dealing with her grief, or it could be this thing of Agnes exerting power over Wanda to push her into doing this, basically, because it seems like until a couple episodes ago, I don't think Wanda really had the clearest idea that she was in control of everything, and I think she's realized that more and more as the episodes and days have gone on.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I think Agnes is a very key part of Wanda not doing this consciously, at least at the beginning.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think she definitely has some control that's going on. And I don't really know, like, to what extent, like you said.
Right.
Also, do you want to keep talking? I have a weird sound issue going on my end, which I don't know how this keeps happening.
Yeah, sure. What's the next scene? Just tell me what the next scene is, because I forget what it is.
Let me go ahead and say one of the things inside the show I did think was funny was Vision changes his form and he's like, "Oh, I was just fluffing the pillow with my face."
That actually was funny. That was like I could see that joke actually really landing in an 80s show where like a guy has to transform between his true and his true form and his for everybody form for whatever reason. I don't know, like if Alf could shapeshift.
Yeah. I did get Alf in this episode a lot because I mean, because we can go right into the credits, which is clearly Growing Pains and Family Ties, like combined with a little bit of Full House thrown in there. Full House I watched a lot as a child, but Growing Pains and Family Ties I think was a little bit before my time.
Yeah.
But I did watch Alf, and so that was what I was getting.
Yeah, there was definitely some of that in there. The opening credits is great. The whole internet loves Baby Vision now. Like, just
those baby pictures.
Disney can like literally just make like a photorealistic rendition of Baby any of their characters, and the internet will just leap over anything to make it the new hotness.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing.
Time for Marvel Base.
Marvel Base. And then is this? I think the scene following, or this is it soon after that the twins age? Well, the twins age themselves up like almost immediately.
Yeah, they aged themselves up by 5 years. Right then and there.
Then they find this puppy and age themselves up to 10 because Vision says they can't have it until they're 10. And at this point, Vision is just like unbelievably confused. And kind of decides to just go to work at the computer place, like the computing business, to get away from it. And that's when like that was until like the end of the episode where like it's actually Wanda and Vision having a real conversation, or like some scenes in the real world. There's so much that happened in this episode.
Also interesting when he goes to work. I mean, other than Agnes, we don't see any of the other, like usual players.
No, just that one
that
guy.
were in the first 3 episodes.
Just Norm.
Yeah.
Just Norm. And then, like, you know, Vision. This is so deeply dark. Like the way Norm reacted when Vision brought him out of it, and what he was saying, and how like horrifying and sad and everything that was. And then Vision just puts him back there, which is like the ultimate dark part of the scene is like Vision is now like kind of complicit. What do we've had scenes back in the real world at this point too, I'm sure, with Dr. Darcy Lewis, like
with Monica Rambeau, like she wakes up and she's being tested and questioned.
Oh, right.
They get an X-ray back, which is blank.
It's not blank though. Check that. Like, look at it again. There's a shadow. It's her neck. She is made of energy, and she has powers now.
Oh, that makes sense.
There's also internet theories suggesting that Wanda's use of radiation and the manipulation of reality in this town is going to give a lot of people mutant powers, and this is a potential way to introduce mutants into the MCU.
Interesting.
But this is just internet nonsense. There's a lot of internet nonsense going on about this show now.
Yeah. One of the things that Monica says when they're talking about it, and this connected with the scene with Norm for me as well, was that sensation that like she wasn't really like in the pilot seat of herself for a lot of it, and all I got was just big sunken place vibes from Get Out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And especially with Norm, it was just like, oh, okay, like we already suspected this, but like hearing somebody being like, I can't not do what I'm being forced to do, and it's awful. Like I don't know where my wife is. All this is like just terrifying.
Yeah. Like truly. Yeah, I'm loving that the show's going there. Was this also where we find out that that her suit that she came out with was made of Kevlar? Like it was.
It's a little bit later, but.
Oh yeah, it's later in the episode.
We can talk about that. They're talking about Wanda. Is she creating matter? Is she changing matter inside?
Oh, right.
And
or
then
is
she
it an
goes,
illusion, or is it like actually a real thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she goes over there and she takes some shots at her wardrobe, which ends up being made out of Kevlar.
Yeah.
Because that's what she was wearing.
So like loving the implications of that. What else we got? What else happened in the real world? Like we have the director who I'm just now gonna say super shady guy.
Yep.
Yep. Director Hayward.
Yeah.
He's debriefing them, shooting down pretty much anything that Wu or Darcy or Rambeau tries to bring up. He is giving a rundown on Wanda, and this I thought was really interesting. He's like, does she have any of those weird, silly nicknames or aliases?
Yes.
And they're like, no. I'm like, oh, that's true, I guess. She's not been ever referred to as Scarlet Witch.
No.
Because that was part of that was part of the rights agreement between how to use those characters in simultaneously the X-Men movies and in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which we'll be getting to that.
I know. I can't believe we're getting to that.
Really quickly on the note of director Hayward, I just want to throw out, if this was a movie, he would 100% be played by Danny Houston, so that we just knew from the jump that he was the villain. Like that is completely the vibe I get from director Hayward, and the actor even kind of looks Danny Houston-ish.
Yeah, you're really not wrong.
Like it's like Marvel was like, well, I don't think we can get Danny Houston for this, but if we could get someone that really looks like him, just to really make it obvious.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I get that. I love that the internet seems to love Jimmy Woo and Darcy as much as they do, because now there's a Jimmy Woo series being pitched to Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Which is just so happy. I want that so bad.
I'm all for it. I want Randall Park to just have all the success.
Me too.
Continued success. I think Randall Park's doing fine.
Yeah, he is. I sat through. I watched all of Fresh Off the Boat, even though only one season was worth watching. But it was just because he's charming as hell. Him and what's her name? I can't remember her name. The woman that plays Constance Wu. She's also wonderful. Like, they're just great to watch on that show. I ran into Randall Park in the coffee shop in my neighborhood once a couple years ago.
Oh, nice.
Sarah and I made the mistake of watching Aquaman last night.
Oh no!
And he is briefly in it, and I was like, well,
I forgot
that's Randall Park. Yeah.
I actually didn't hate Aquaman because when I wanted to stop paying attention to it, I could just watch the floating hair.
Yeah. The next thing about Aquaman is that Dolph Lundgren probably turns in the most performance in the whole thing.
That's true. I also just really loved how absurd it was. Sorry, go ahead. Is that Dustin?
Oh, it's very silly. I think the biggest negative working against it is that Patrick Wilson is just not a convincing or intimidating supervillain.
No, and to go back to the hair point, I think it's really funny that like his hair was obviously like the hairstyle was obviously designed to float and to look good floating, and like the couple times where he's like not in water, his hair looks awful. Because it's just a bad haircut above water.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's strange.
But I like the Black
All
Manta evolution, though. How we saw him build a comic book Black Manta suit, and then was like, "No, this is unworkable," and then goes on to the final version. I thought that was nice.
Yeah. The all of the de-aging in that movie was weird.
Yes.
Because I'm like, why? Yeah. Because Patrick Wilson, they de-aged him.
Yes.
Because he's the younger brother, and I'm like, why did they? I mean, I know James Wan, Patrick Wilson, that connection there, but why did he have to be the younger brother? I don't understand this.
Yeah, like you can fudge some liberties.
Yeah.
Like also, Patrick Wilson looks the same now as he did in the 2000s. I feel like I don't feel like there's been a whole lot of major structural change to Patrick Wilson.
Yeah, no, I agree. I very much feel like they could have just said he was the younger brother and not de-aged him, and it would have been like,
oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no part of me would have been like, I don't buy that Patrick Wilson isn't as old as Jason Momoa.
Yeah. Also, why de-age Tim Morrison when you can just cast Daniel Logan there?
There you go.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
I was just going to say, we skipped over the most important part. Another paycheck for Tamara Morrison.
Yeah.
I did like when he showed up at the beginning. Who plays his wife in that movie? Who plays Aquaman's mom?
Nicole Kidman.
That's right. Like, Tamara Morrison got to be married to Nicole Kidman for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, that's hilarious.
Nicole Kidman, who has the worst wig in the whole movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, my God. So that's our
WandaVision,
podcast
am I right?
about Aquaman, which I saw at the theater.
Same. We're going to do a DCEU edition at some point, right? We
no,
have to, I feel like.
No. I've watched all of them before, and I will not watch them again.
Well, coming next month, we're definitely covering Alex's most anticipated film.
I don't know if I've ever... I don't think I've ever, I don't think I've ever hate-watched a 4-hour-long thing before.
Don't you love that it's rated R?
No, I don't care that it's rated R.
That man's going to say an F word.
If I may make a comparison, the Spawn film from 1997, when that came out in 1997, it was a PG-13 movie. And when it came out on DVD, it came out in an R-rated director's cut, which literally the only change it made was it changed a shit to a fuck. That was it. It was a dialogue dub of Spawn when you can't see his mouth moving. That was the only difference. And I feel like that's the R-ratedness of the Snyder Cut that we're going to get.
That's insane. Also, you get one F word for a PG-13.
It was some dialogue dub. Maybe there was more CG blood in another scene or something. But it wasn't like there was extended gore. It wasn't like there was some big fight scene that was too violent for the theatrical cut. It was really upsetting for a 12-year-old boy who thought he was into Spawn because Spawn was quote unquote cool.
Well, Todd McFarlane thanks you, Alex.
And
he's still trying to make Spawn movies.
And speaking, if I may make a personal digression, I did recently not have the willpower to not purchase an original 1997 pressing of the Spawn soundtrack on Trip 3 10-inch red vinyl from the UK.
I saw that and I almost pulled the trigger on it. I was like, there are 3 songs on this whole thing that I care about. I cannot justify this.
I couldn't pass it up. It's the stupidest thing I've bought in my record collection.
It's very silly. I saw that and I was like, I feel like I can count on one hand the people I know who would buy this, and you were among those counted.
I appreciate that consideration. Yeah, it's just the oddity of a triple 10-inch red LP set from 1997 of anything is weird enough as it is, let alone the Spawn soundtrack with tracks by DJ Spooky and Metallica and Korn and the Dust Brothers.
Yep. I want to say there was a Filter song on there, if I remember.
Yep, there's Filter
right?
and some DJ doing stuff to Filter. So WandaVision is the show that we watched.
Yeah, I was gonna say
There we go.
I haven't had to use that in a while.
Yeah, because I haven't been on the show.
So, yeah, we get Monica doesn't believe that Wanda, is being malicious in any way. We also find out that she went into Sword and stole Vision's body.
Oh yeah. So your theory, like Travis, I didn't really have a thought one way or the other if that was like actually Vision in there. But you're like, oh no, I think that's his corpse. And like,
Yeah.
good call, because that is the reanimated and repossessed corpse of Vision, which is crazy and very, very creepy.
Yeah, and then they even mention retaining ownership of his corpse due to the Sokovia Accords. And I think Vision had also stated that like he didn't want his body to be weaponized, essentially, which is why they were holding him.
But it also seemed like they were holding him in order to weaponize his body.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah,
they didn't have him just safely stored away. They were doing stuff to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it looked like he'd been like slightly vivisected when
Yeah.
Wanda rescues him.
He was in pieces.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, no, this isn't adding up. His side of the story.
He had just watched Empire and saw 3PO or Chewie put 3PO back together and was like, I can do this.
So yeah, then back in WandaVision world, Tommy and Billy are caught washing a dog in the sink, and they decide to keep him and name him Sparky. And then, as you mentioned before, that's when they age up again to 10 years old. And Wanda's just...
Then Agnes... go ahead.
Yeah, Wanda's just like using her powers right around Agnes, and Vision's very disturbed by this.
Like, she didn't know.
I was gonna say too, like Agnes shows up super quick with just a doghouse, just ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Which again makes me wonder, like, what elements are being manipulated, what's being controlled, and all that. Because they're gonna call the dog something. I think they're gonna call him Sniffy at first, and then the dog almost electrocutes himself sniffing at an outlet somehow.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they go to Sparky.
And Sparky the dog is a real thing in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, that's like actually their dog, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like these are the kids that Wanda has in the comic books too. It's not like they just like made up. Like they're wearing the colors of the comic book characters.
If I had more time, I was going to put together a visual representation of the colors of their costumes and Wiccan and Speed, who they grew up to be. Because it's very similar. So then, back in the real world, we find out that Darcy refers to the quarantine force field as the Hex because of all the hexagonal shapes.
Which is Dustin, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say probably the same thing you were, short for Wanda's hex powers.
Right.
Which is what they're referred to in the comics since she's a witch. That was kind of what I was starting to think that after the last episode. I was like, is this just setting us up so they can like only acknowledge her powers? Like, is that the only reason we're getting all this six-sided imagery? And then turns out that is the reason. I saw a lot of theories. Somebody was like, well, it's kind of like a honeycomb. Like we saw the beekeeper imagery. I was like, I think that stuff might be a bit of a reach, but
that's
okay.
I think that's a reach. But like we did see it like within the show very heavily motifed in the 70s episode opening credits, where they're in the hexagonal boxes, and like the hexagon is a very big design element of the MCU. It's, if I recall correctly, it is like when Guardians of the Galaxy are skipping through space, they're jumping through these like hexagon-shaped like little mini wormholes in space. So there could be some kind of implication there.
Yeah.
But yeah, hexes are not insignificant for sure.
So yeah, then again, that's the scene where she finds out that her costume is made out of Kevlar now,
Right.
and then Monica gets the idea. Well, what if we send in something that would not have to be changed to fit into the the time frame that they're working with?
The thinking being like that Wanda wouldn't like have to use any effort to change it into a thing that would fit the time period and therefore might not notice it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So then they send in a drone from the 80s.
A Stark drone from the 80s.
Yeah.
I feel like it's slightly off and probably just coincidental and might even be me reaching, but I thought that the Stark drone looked like the Blackbird, which is the X-Men's jet.
I thought so too.
Bit, yeah.
I was like, the wings aren't angled quite right, but it definitely seems like the Blackbird.
I feel like there's quite a few homages to the X-Men comics and or movies in this episode. So yeah, Monica tries to talk to Wanda via the drone, and then Hayward decides they're just gonna take some shots at her, and that ends up going real well because all of a sudden Wanda steps out of the hex carrying the drone behind her and throws it at him, and they have a confrontation again, and it's really unsettling to see when it's daytime in there and it's nighttime outside.
Yeah, I loved this scene. I was not expecting that at all, for Wanda to come out and just be like, "Get off my lawn," basically.
Yeah. Get off my lawn.
But like, and for her to just be in her same costume, really, that's like the last we saw her in. And her accent is back, which I thought was a cool touch.
Yeah, I'm glad that came up because I was really wondering. I was like, okay, like you're not even trying with the accent. Like I'll give you a pass, but now that we've seen this context, it makes complete sense in the TV reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It still doesn't really make sense in like Endgame, but like whatever. That's a different podcast.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, this scene was so cool, and Wanda, basically threatening to use her powers, and this moment of kind of connection that she and Monica had. That'll probably be winding up being a really key factor in however this resolves ultimately. Is Monica's actual connection with Wanda.
Yeah.
And just like, this scene is also, at the end of this scene is this great moment where, Wanda has all of these green lasers trained on her from all the soldiers with their guns pointed at her. Then the last thing she does in the scene is she lets her little ball of magic go, and every single one of those dudes points their guns at the director. And that is like very reminiscent of a scene from the X-Men films.
That's I'm glad you got there because that happened in the first X-Men with who would be her dad, Magneto.
Yep. So, whether that was intentional or whether it was just like, oh, this would be a cool thing to do, which I could see it very easily just being like the choreography of the scene that happens to echo an X-Men movie, but like, given later in the episode, like maybe not.
Yeah. Then we cut to a commercial break.
Yeah. While we're talking about X-Men,
this one's so dark. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Well, hold on, I think Dustin had something to say.
Sorry, just real quick while we're talking about the X-Men connections before we get to the commercial. They go over Wanda and Pietro's file, and they mention their parents by name. But they fail to mention Eric Lenscher, their actual father, which I'm real curious what the revelation at the end of the episode means, if we're acknowledging, like if we're going back to the well with the X-Men stuff. So, but it was just something I caught. I was like, that's not Magneto's real name for the father. Okay.
Yeah, so that's probably like that was also, I'm sure, very specifically done.
Yes. So We'll talk more about the end of the episode when we get there, but there was just a detail that really stuck out to me. And then the commercial.
Yeah. With the Lagos branded paper towels for when you make a mess you didn't mean to.
Yep.
Which is like, holy crap. Like, that's like, you know, there's not even any subtext here. Like, you know, Lagos was a mess that Wanda made that she didn't mean to. But she killed a lot of people, didn't just spill the red drink.
Yep. That took me a second. I even had my roommate, who's like a bigger MCU nerd than I am. I was like, what the heck is Lagos? It was like, it's where she failed to contain crossbones blowing. And so I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Like, this is real dark. And I think, like, I can't remember, but I feel like the liquid in those like actual paper towel commercials of the era was it usually red? I feel like, because red, I think, is like very much a blood color, and you know.
Yeah, they used red. It was red, and then there was a beer that got spilled at the end.
Okay, but like in the actual commercial, like actual commercials that's a spoof of, like, I feel like it seems like it was red, but I feel like maybe it wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it would have been.
I'm sure the red was deliberate.
I think most of the time it is.
Okay.
Yeah. But Dustin, I think more people are you had a theory at the beginning that the commercials were in reference to the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
And I think it's like coming back around where that's actually becoming a more popular theory. Because I think they're only going to have 2 more time periods as far as television goes. So we're only going to get 2 more commercials. So we'll get a total of 6, which that's the number of stones. That's also ties into the, you know, hexagon, 6 sides.
Yeah.
So, and Lagos, I think people are theorizing would represent the reality stone. Again, with the red ether spilling out,
and the toaster is the Mind Stone, because that's like the toaster was kind of a representation of Vision. The watch would be the Time
I think we
Stone.
said I think we thought the toaster was the Power Stone. At least that's what I thought we'd said.
That's what I'd said, but I mean, I think it's up for debate until
it could be either way. Like
it becomes clear.
Yeah, I still hold. I think that the commercials are tied to the stones for sure.
Mm-hmm. And throughout this series, we see that the influence and power of the stones, while they are gone, are still being felt and are still causing a lot of trouble with all these people. Because then Wanda gets it. She passes it off to Rambeau and all the other people in this town, potentially. So...
yeah, crazy. Like, this show is like, I would have never expected WandaVision, a show which, when it was announced, I could not have been less interested in, to like do such major things to the entirety of the MCU.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people probably felt that way. And if they haven't jumped on board, or they maybe watched the first 2 episodes and didn't want to continue, I think they really should, because it's going to be, like you said, big, deep, impactful things happening.
Yeah, I mean, like, more impactful things have happened in like 4 episodes of this show than they did in like 2 Spider-Man movies.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, not knocking those Spider-Man movies. I love those Spider-Man movies, but just like universe stuff.
Yeah. What's nuts to me too is like I've seen people like in my Facebook timelines and stuff who are watching the show who love it, and there are a few of them that have just not watched any MCU stuff at all.
Oh, interesting.
And
I don't know how that could possibly be a rule.
How are you not completely lost?
Yeah. I don't know what there is to really enjoy if you're not into that.
Yeah, like I feel like there's a handful of MCU things that you can check without like knowing any of the other, like you can probably watch like, you know, Captain America and Thor, like in like a couple of those early ones like on their own. But I feel like kind of post Avengers 2 is like you need that background.
Yeah.
Like
They
I mean,
really stopped
especially
making them
post
standalone
Endgame.
things. Yeah.
Like where the board has just been completely changed with everything that happened. So I mean, I'm glad people are watching it, but that's nuts to me. Like,
Yeah. No, me too, for sure.
like I feel like it's the inverse effect because like Mandalorian clearly pays off, like knowing some of those things that came before in Star Wars.
Right.
But I don't feel like you have to know all of those things to still enjoy the show. For
Oh yeah.
No, it's not dependent.
I don't think you even have to like Star Wars to like that show.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are watching that show who prior to had no interest in the world. So
yeah,
I mean, it's the most popular streaming show in the United States, which is like insane. It's the most streamed show in the United States. Like,
whereas this, like, I couldn't imagine trying to put this together without ever having watched Marvel anything.
No. That's like watching Fire Walk with Me before watching Twin Peaks.
Yeah. Which I should probably try to do that again sometime soon. I've tried twice and not been able to get very far.
So, cut back to WandaVision world where Sparky is dead.
Right.
And Wanda cannot bring him back.
Yeah.
Even though the boys are pleading to her to. They're like, please do it, or we're going to age up again to avoid feeling these feelings. She's like, no, do as I say, not as I do, because...
Yeah, you can't run away from these feelings, even though that's exactly what this whole reality we're in is built upon.
Right. I didn't get the sense that she couldn't bring the dog back. I got the sense that she wouldn't.
Interesting.
It seemed really ambiguous.
Yeah.
Because part of it, cause she goes on to mention her brother. I don't remember if it's in that scene or later. About
I think it was
wanting
prior.
to bring him back.
It was.
Yeah,
it was right
about
before
wanting
that.
to be able to bring him back, but not being able to. Well, and she didn't even give that much. She just says he's very, very far away or something.
Right.
Is what she tells Billy and Tommy. And then, of course, like, obviously, it works with Vision because he's an android. He's a construct. He's not an organic. But, it's really weird, and it sets up some kind of very, very interesting implications and questions about the reveal at the end of the episode, too.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. Have we got past the scene where she mentions the aerospace engineer yet, or has that not come up yet?
Oh yeah, that was Monica mentioned that earlier. Yeah.
Okay.
There was an aerospace
I
engineer
remember
that would be
that being mentioned at one point, and part of me was half expecting that to be who showed up at the end. Not knowing who the aerospace engineer is, but just figuring that would be the person that was revealed.
I've seen two theories as to the identity of the aerospace engineer. One is Reed Richards, which would be a way to introduce Fantastic Four into the MCU. The other suggestion was Hank McCoy. Which...
Who would it be played by, though?
Great question.
Kelsey Grammer.
Probably just Kelsey Grammer in makeup. Exclusively.
Not Nicholas Hoult?
No, it'd probably be Holt. I don't mind Holt as Beast, actually. Yeah. I mean, he'll never be Kelsey Grammer as Beast.
Yeah, he's fine. I just wish Beast was as big in the movies as he actually is in the comics.
Oh yeah, me too.
It's like, hey, instead of like slapping fur on, like just cast a WWE personality as Beast. Sorry,
maybe they'll do that in the MCU.
Just let Dave Bautista play him.
Can we get Dave Bautista? Yep. I mean, we've seen that Dave Bautista can convincingly pass as someone who wears glasses in Blade Runner. So.
Yes, we have seen that.
Yeah.
There needs to be a fan.
He's a better actor than I ever would have given him credit for.
Oh, for sure.
Based solely on his wrestling persona.
Yeah, for sure.
Like John Cena is funny, but he is 100% the actor I thought he would be. Dave Bautista shot over my expectations of what he could do as an actor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he's the most humble guy about it too. If you ever hear him talk about him acting, he's like, I'm real grateful for, any and all of the work that I get, because I know what my range is and where I come from. So
that's really cool.
Then later, Vision reveals that he talked to Norm and tells her, what he found out, and tells her, you can't control me the way you do them. And Wanda says, can I? And then the credits start to roll. But he won't allow it. And it was a really weird thing to see a fight breaking out while the credits are rolling over something, because you're like, this is strange.
This honestly might be my favorite moment in the show so far. Just because it's so good. And when we were texting, this is the scene that I was talking about, and I was like, this is the best these two have been.
Totally.
This scene is so good between the two of them. And just when they have that, all I could think of was the roommate meeting, fighting potato off the ground and start yelling at each other. But it's aside from that initial reaction, it's such a well acted, well written confrontation between the two of them. As the first time too that I feel like we really see Wanda kind of question if what she's doing is wrong or not, because she seems to have moments of doubt, and she feels genuinely hurt when it's apparent the Vision doesn't trust her.
Right.
And it's just this amazing scene buried in what so many people would derisively refer to as, just a comic book show. Shut up, you don't know how to enjoy art.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't qualify this show as art, but yes, I understand your point.
Yeah, I mean, not high art, but it's still art.
No, I know.
Even the Bloodhound Gang is art to somebody.
Oh, it's it's 1,000,000% art. This is a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I feel like we've low-key had this conversation before, but
I think we have. I think I keep being an asshole about that particular point.
I feel like this episode in particular, they are making it ambiguous. They're leading you to think Wanda is the one in control of everything.
Yeah.
But I feel like Wanda could be helping things along on a subconscious level, but she might not be the person who started everything. She says in this fight, I don't even know how all this began. And with the conversation between Vision and Norm never refers to Wanda by name. He just keeps saying she, she's doing all this. Make her stop. And then when Vision calls her out,
it's definitely
she never
Alex's theory.
Yeah. When Vision calls her out, Wanda never admits to it. She just says please don't take this away from me. As if she's just aware of what's going on. And is just allowing it to happen.
But there's also the get off my lawn scene where she seems very possessive of what's actually happening inside that hex.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
But no, I agree.
And they even try to negotiate with her.
Yeah. But no, I agree. I don't think it's
she says I already have what I want.
Right. But I agree. I don't think it's all Wanda. I think I think the effects are directly Wanda. I don't know if she knows that fully. I don't know how much in totality is her doing and how much is somebody else's. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
she could be the one, maintaining everything, but she's not the architect of it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, I wanted to point out that this whole end of the episode is all this really great stuff, like the real conversation, the real confrontation between Wanda and Vision, and that great moment ripped off of a shot from What We Do in the Shadows of them like rising up to fight each other in like superhero poses. But like,
which we should mention, we're playing against the Superb Owl Bowl.
oh yeah, we're playing against the Superb Owl Day. Where everyone gathers to marvel at the majesty of a really beautiful owl. But the whole end of the episode is technically a post-credits scene. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Marvel does love them.
Yep.
And yeah, we've not really gotten a post-credits scene from this show yet.
No.
Because like
so
the reveal in the first episode was like kind of, but it was like post-credits within the context of it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here we go. Now we're to the moment, right? The knock on the door.
Yeah, the doorbell rings.
Yeah, go for it.
And she's like, I didn't do that. And then a special guest shows up, and it's her brother, the guy from Kick-Ass, Evan Peters.
Yep.
So this is huge. Just to be very clear about what this was not Aaron Taylor Johnson coming back and playing Pietro. This was Evan Peters, who played Quicksilver in X-Men Days of Future Past and Apocalypse, which is a totally separate property until now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
The crazy thing, like, about the reveal is, I don't know, like it's a reveal if you know, like, the X-Men cinematic
right,
world.
it's only a reveal of the actor, because as soon as you show the hair, that's the reveal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was part of me that, like, when the first thing they showed was the back of his head, I was like, if you don't show me who this is right now, I'm going to be so pissed. You better cut to an over-the-shoulder reverse of Elizabeth Olsen, or I'm going to be real mad right now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they did. I thought they were going to leave us hanging until the next episode.
Yeah, no, I can't believe they gave it to us here. And like, and to boot, it's not only interesting for all the ramifications it has for the MCU, which we're going to get into momentarily, but it's also so great because Aaron Taylor Johnson and the way that they handled that character in Ultron was so freaking boring. And the depiction of Quicksilver in those two X-Men films was so cool and absolutely the highlights of both of the movies he was in.
Yeah. As soon as the episode wrapped, I was like,
of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
I was like, Sarah, let's watch the two Quicksilver scenes.
Just watch the
from
Quicksilver
the
scenes. They're like, just those alone. And so, like,
they're so good.
Bringing that specifically over is like really exciting to me, just because I really like those scenes and, like, you know, and not much else in those. I mean, I like Days of Future Past actually kind of pretty well.
Days of Future Past was okay.
Yeah.
But Apocalypse and Dark
is,
Phoenix are hot garbage.
I did watch Dark Phoenix. It's very bad.
It's bad. It's the worst of the bunch. I think it's almost worse than X-Men.
Ooh, bold. Yeah, probably you're right.
Last Stand, we at least got Kelsey Grammer.
That's true.
Well, none of them can be as bad as X-Men Origins Wolverine.
That's true. No one's gonna own up to that movie.
Oh, that one's pretty rough. Yeah, no amount of my love for Liev Schreiber could save that one.
No, but so the scene and bringing Quicksilver over, the kind of implication is that, because we know Wanda is a part of the next Doctor Strange movie, which is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and we know that the multiverse is coming kind of based on just the casting leaks for the new Spider-Man movie, which are many and insane. So to break open the multiverse door by bringing alternate universe version of Quicksilver into the MCU, thereby potentially allowing for the total integration of the X-Men franchise as it exists into the MCU in that way, is so unexpected. That's completely unexpected for me. I thought that those were just going to be like, these are the legacy films, and now we're doing a different thing.
Well, and especially because Feige even said like it was going to be a while before they even thought about how to incorporate X-Men into the universe once they acquired the rights to it.
Yeah.
Which great misdirect on his part, because I don't think any of us were expecting this. Like I think I said a few episodes ago I was expecting Quicksilver to show up, but I was pretty sure it was going to be the Aaron Taylor Johnson version somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, this is a complete switcheroo on us. And then we get that great moment cutting back to the real world where Darcy's reaction is she recast her brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like, by the end of this episode, I was getting heavy Community vibes.
Yeah.
Like, heavy, like, Abed made a Marvel TV show
Yeah.
vibes.
Just know that by rolling this dice, you're now creating 6 different timelines.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, what's the other show that's known to do genre hopping outside of the type of show that it is as a way to illustrate characters undergoing emotional trauma? Ah, yes, Community.
Yeah.
I want to see what Danny Pudi is in all of the alternate multiverse realities.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because Danny Pudi's in the MCU.
Yeah.
We know in this one he is he works at a tech station for S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Or did in
Or
the past. Yeah.
Oh my. Yeah. And yeah. That's great. It's also like Evan Peters. The other question is, like obviously the mind goes to Quicksilver in the X-Men movies, but I saw a theory that was like, this guy is just a resident of Westview
Right.
that she cast as, and it's like, but the, maybe her casting was that, but Marvel's casting was super intentional. And what does that mean?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I see. That's interesting. Not that it's like a prank on the audience, but that it's like he's like that Evan Peters is a different person in this reality that has been cast as Quicksilver in this instance. Interesting.
Which could be true.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait a week to find out what the deal is with him. So.
So next week is the 90s, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I believe
What are
so.
our 90s sitcoms touchstones? Like the family ones, because it's not going to be like, they're not going to be the cast of Friends where they're like, who's Vision sleeping with this week?
Yeah.
Not going to be
Family
Seinfeld
Matters,
with like
Step
who is
by
withholding
Step.
the soup.
I think Roseanne is going to be a big one.
Roseanne, Married with Children's on the table
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I would kind of love to see the WandaVision Married with Children episode. For Vision to be like totally this like Al Bundy type of like jerk bag.
Yeah, I've already seen a Photoshop job of Vision's head over Al Bundy's body, saying, "If we don't get this next
Carrying
week,
No Ma'am's side.
Yeah.
What would be amazing? I'm sure they won't do because I'm sure it would probably be even more expensive and they wouldn't have had to turn around. But to do a Simpsons essentially, just go
Oh,
animate
that'd be
with it.
amazing.
But
I would love it. But that would mean I think that would be too intense for even Marvel to touch right now. Like for the idea to because we've learned that this is physical matter that is being manipulated and reformed, and for Wanda to create an animated neighborhood out of physical material is like a terrifying biological prospect.
Yeah.
So
you're two-dimensional.
Wow. And they could do it. They could do it in the exact same style as The Simpsons and not get in any legal troubles at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Totally could.
And then I think the theory is that the 2000s is going to be kind of like Modern Family.
That would make sense.
I can
That
see
would make
that.
sense for the 2000s.
Yeah, that's what we have to
Unless they want to give us
look
Arrested
forward
Development
to.
with Marvel characters.
I welcome
There's
that
that too.
also.
Oh, I want to throw out. I want to throw out really quick just a potential theory based on what Alex had mentioned earlier. This has been running through my brain because Wanda mentions that she doesn't know how everything started. Kind of the same way that in Age of Ultron, Tony isn't like the seed of doubt is planted in his mind, which is why he makes Ultron. I'm wondering if something similar hasn't happened here, where who is it you think Agnes is again, Alex?
Agatha Harkness.
So where that character probably did something similar to Wanda to set her on the path of stealing Vision from Sword and then creating this reality. I'm thinking it's probably what set the ball rolling on all this.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a Palpatine Anakin kind of relationship.
For sure. Yeah, I think even if Agnes isn't that character, we can definitely assume that she has a larger part to play still that hasn't been made completely obvious to us yet.
Right. Totally.
I know a lot of the theories.
She's also the only character that's like recurring, like consistently, prominently.
Frequently, yeah. Theories have kicked Mephisto around too, but I feel like Mephisto
the internet
is way
thinks everyone's
too huge
Mephisto.
a jump. Yeah, like I think we'll get MODOK before we get Mephisto. So, well, we're going to get MODOK before we get Mephisto, probably.
Yeah, MODOK.
But yeah, that's what I think. I think the Mephisto thing is a huge reach, even though we've technically gotten Ghost Rider already in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But
yeah, that's right.
Wait, they got Ghost Rider and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah, he drives a car.
Yeah.
Not a motorcycle.
Yeah, it's one of the later Ghost Riders.
So
it's not the
stupid.
Johnny Blaze one. It's not the original Ghost Rider. It's like one of the second or third ones.
Then, all right. Well, I mean, the multiverse is opening up, right? Let's just get Nick Cage into the MCU like ASAP.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that. Give me Spider-Man Noir. Give me live action Spider-Man Noir.
I mean, I was just saying, give us his insane Neville Dean Taylor Ghost Rider, but in an MCU.
I mean,
movie.
give us both. Give us both. I'm just
Ghost
saying.
Rider versus Spider-Man Noir. I'd watch that.
If Paul Bettany can be Jarvis and Vision, I know they're essentially the same, but come on, you can dual cast.
I saw this observation online today. Like, can you imagine, like, 13 years ago, Paul Bettany just does, like, a day of work in a vocal booth for, like, just doing a computer voice in Iron Man, and now he's, like, this. Now he has to do, like, 6 hours of makeup on a daily basis when he goes to work.
Yep.
Like, from the vocal booth where you don't have, where you could, like, be wearing your sweatpants to, like, having to deal with that kind of a makeup process.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Good on him. I can't imagine it doesn't pay not great, so.
Yeah, is probably.
I mean, good for Paul Bettany. He got to be in a Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah. I'm all for it.
Which,
so good
like,
on,
it just randomly pops into my brain that he was in a Star Wars, because I only saw Solo the one time.
He's kind of good, though. Watch Solo more. It's good.
Oh, yeah, he's great. I do need to watch it again. I genuinely liked it. I just hated the first half of the movie was so dark that I couldn't see anything in the theater I was in.
Right.
Yeah. So, hopefully next week we'll be able to see a little more than you saw at the beginning of Solo. And so we'll be looking forward to the 90s, hopefully, as long as we don't get into another one of the all real world episodes. But I think they're cutting back and forth. And after episode 7, who knows what 8 and 9 are going to look like.
Right.
Yeah.
So until all then, Dustin, where can people find more of you on the internet?
You can check out what I got going on at DustinMeadowsComedy.com. I'm at Dustin Meadows on Twitter and Instagram. And on you can catch me streaming Tuesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch at twitch.tv/Dustin Meadows.
Cool. And Alex, how about yourself?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Alex Brunel, and also check out the new release by my silly weirdo project Misbits, the new 7-inch EP Earth AI. Dustin patronized us. Thank you very much, Dustin. Available at.
It's gonna be on all of
and,
our
and Travis, like everybody's got the single. Sarah and Travis bought one too, and I find it.
Perfect.
I find it so great that these like truly unholy items have a place in your home, Travis, and for that I am very grateful. But available at misfits.bandcamp.com for a very reasonable amount of money. Limited edition of 200.
Yeah,
So.
do it. I'll include a link in the show notes.
Yay! Thank you.
And so yeah. And you can find the show itself, Who Watches Podcast at gmail.com. We are on Twitter. We are on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube, where we stream every week. And please subscribe and leave reviews wherever you're listening to this on the podcast of your choice. And that's all. Until next week, piss off, you ghosts.